Now you'll have to excuse me because as I talk to you tonight in this blog, I am in fact eating some of the produce from my allotment. I've decided to do quite a bit of cooking today, and I've done boiling, and I'm doing roasting as well. The roasted stuff is still in the oven. We've got courgette, beetroot and kohlrabi on the way there, which should be ready when I finish this blog. This is the boiled stroked steam stuff. And we've got this. This is our broccoli. Now, the broccoli harvest wasn't very good. Most of it went straight to seed, and the top, bit tasteless now, almost inedible. But I'll tell you what's nice. Best bit is the stem. Very, very sweet indeed. That's lovely. Ball carrots, and they are beginning to go a bit Chernobyl. Chernobyl carrots are like ball carrots, and what happens is they split, and they sort of come out of the ground looking very, very strange indeed. And it's what happens when there is difference in water levels throughout the time they've matured, and they sort of shrink and expand at funny rates, and it causes them to come out looking strange, but they taste normal, and this just proves it. Very strong tasting. But not woody at all, that's fine. Now, there are two other things in here. One which I'm going to have to search around my plate to find. Where is it? Where is it? I know you're down here somewhere. I just can't see you. Now, it's part of the kohlrabi. And do you know, I don't seem to be able to find it at all. Maybe I have already eaten it. But basically the leaves of kohlrabi, they're green, but when you taste them, they taste exactly like white cabbage. The only other thing, which I haven't tasted yet, is this. This is boiled kohlrabi. Now, it's taken on the appearance of a boiled potato in that it's sort of got crisscross lines on it as well. It's quite tasteless when it's boiled. Yeah, it's quite tasteless actually. Grating was much better. Grating, it was sweet, and it's also quite juicy inside. It looks, gives the feel that it's not, that it's quite a hard turnip. But when you cut it, it's juicy, and you can see that the skin is purple, but the inside is not. It's just white. You can in fact get green types as well. So I'm going to keep munching as I talk. There's a couple of announcements to make. The first one is, of course, that this week happens to be the second half of my retreat holiday. So I'm off Tuesday and I'm off Friday and Saturday. Tuesday I'm concluding To the Ends of the Earth project by doing the very last little bit of exploration along the route. In fact, that was only discovered recently. So we're going to do that on Tuesday, weather permitting, of course. The working week is only 2 days this week. It's Wednesday and it's Thursday. Thursday night I'm travelling down to Gloucester with my family, and we have a cousin's wedding down there on the Friday, and then I am staying Friday to Saturday and Saturday to Sunday, and I have 2 days basically. I have all of the Saturday and a bit of the Sunday to enjoy Gloucester at my leisure. I'm looking to see if there's any gardens down there that I can visit with my RHS membership. I'm also hoping to meet Andy Costello, possibly. And then it will be, I've got to book travel back as well from that. And I have to go shopping this week to get a new shirt for it, which is going to be fantastic. So I've got all that to do. So it's going to be a busy week, despite the fact I'm only actually at work 2 days. This week I wanted to finish off talking about my time in London with how that ended. And it was a sudden end, very abrupt. Do you know, I was only ever supposed to be down there 2 years. I had a 2-year fixed contract, and I was not supposed to be down there for longer than that anyway, at least not in terms of working at St Paul's Cathedral. The idea had been that I look for work and that I stay in London, or that I move to a different city that had a cathedral and continue doing the same work. Now, my attempts at staying in London in terms of job searching had not been good, because obviously I'd had quite a rough time down there in terms of I was very busy doing other things when I should have been job searching. So I was running out of time with that. So a vacancy came up at York, and the day that my tenure ended abruptly was a Sunday, and for some reason I was not doing the actual service on the Sunday. I was instead in the congregation. The reason I was in the congregation when I wasn't working was because the lay community had a pastoral ministry which was interested in that particular service. So after the 6 o'clock, after we'd done the sort of community stuff, I was walking back with my friend Joe, who was also a member of the lay community, and we were talking specifically about all the stuff that I had to do to get ready for this interview, and the interview was at York for this job. And as we were crossing the road, I was wearing sandals, and we got to the other side, and my sandal caught as I was going up the curb, and I sort of tried to right myself, so I gathered quite a bit of momentum as I sort of flew across the pavement, and I crashed into a set of steel rails that were on the other side of the pavement, basically. And I knew right away that something was terribly wrong, because I couldn't move my fingers. I actually couldn't move them, and that was so weird. The feeling of paralysis was so strange. I had never broken anything never broken my bone in my body before at all. And thankfully we were only a short walk, in fact, from St Thomas's Hospital, and we waited forever to get these x-rays, and the x-rays showed that I had broken 2 fingers in my left hand. One of them was this finger there, that finger, and I don't know if you can see the scars. No, not that, that's new, but the scar along there, they had to the bone was not shattered, but it was broken in a sort of cylindrical fashion, so they had to put 2 K-wires in to hold the bone together whilst it healed. With the other finger that I broke was this one at the end, and they said there was nothing they could really do for that. And what happens is I cannot straighten that at all, and yet this bit hyperextends now, like that. So it's an F finger basically. They said they couldn't do anything about that. I had to have it strapped, and I was told to come back in about 2 days. I think it was the Wednesday, and that was when they were going to operate and put the K-wires in. It was serious enough, of course, that I would have to be signed off, and I couldn't work. Therefore, I couldn't work at all at the cathedral from that point. That was the end. I was about a month away from when I was due to, my tenure was due to run out anyway. It also pretty much meant that I wasn't going to get to this job in York, because I wouldn't be able to work for a couple of months. So it was going to be July, August, September, so it would be October would be the first time that I'd be able to work. That, of course, meant that I wasn't going to be able to stay in London, and I wasn't going to be able to head to a new city and start a new life straight away. I was going to have to go home, because the house I was in was reliant on the job that I had, and without that, when that job came to an end, naturally I would have to leave the lay community anyway. So on the end of August, I got on a bus. I was seen off, in fact, by my friend Joe again. And that was it. I left London, and it was years before I returned, even for a visit. You know, that was a bit of a shock for me, because that ruined my plan completely. I had two options. The most viable that I felt was to find a job and stay in London. The second option, which I felt was more or less viable, but I wasn't sure, was to continue on in the church, but in a different city. What I had never dreamed of doing at all was returning to Harrogate, which I didn't know very well at that point anyway, because I'd gone to university straight from Lincoln, and so I knew Harrogate only from when I visited my parents, because my parents moved almost across the summer that I finished school and then went to university in the fall. So it had never really been my home, and what's worse is I would not have a job, so I would have to literally move back in with my parents. And I thought for a long, long time, just not the damage, but how different my life would have been had I been able to get another job in London, or another job within the church, in a lay capacity in a different city. You know, how different things would be. That was a major, almost derailment. Certainly professionally speaking, it's a derailment that I've never recovered from. At least not yet. But yeah, so I left London, and that was the end of that season. It all happened very, very suddenly, and very, very unexpectedly. And now I'm going to finish eating my greens, and whilst you go and hear the birthdays. Lots of birthdays this week, so many happy returns, and do eat lots of cake to all these people. We have got Misha Goodman, Sean Cottle, Naomi Carvey, Matt Grice, Robin Ayers, Chris Mason and Mark Jordan. So yes, happy birthday. And you know that blotch on my lens, which is just over my mouth about now, is still there. Have to get that sorted out for next time.